Welcome to your Evelyn full breakdown guide. It's your boy Josh, and today we'll be going through the bodacious secret agent beauty that is Evelyn Chevalier. Chevalier? I couldn't catch what they said off the fact that I turned off all my other senses to heighten my sight onto those big, beautiful. Evelyn is our first premium fire attack unit, and although sharing a lot of categorical archetypes with previous characters, we're going to show you how to master her B to her D. Before we move forward, please note that this footage is coming from the Creator Access Server, so our information here is subject to change. And hey, while I have you here, why not subscribe? Hit that red button right now. Now to start off with the rope tying 101, we are going to learn the square knot. Quite the versatile knot and requires a two-step process, just like Evelyn, whose kit works around the stack of burning, more specifically burning embers and burning tethers. The TLDR is that you'll want to build up enough burning embers to consume to form burning tethers. Use 3 tethers and you'll get Evelyn's chain attack. That's right, the Star of Lyra are masters of chains. Alright, I swear both of their kits must be innuendos. Soldier 69 here starts with their E skill, or the 5th basic. Evelyn will enter into a binding seal. Her Lunar Lux Garrote will latch onto enemies indicated by the red light, in order to dish out a majority of her string damage. Yes, the pun was intended. We'll be needing to apply this Lunar Lux Garrote, which will be able to allow Evelyn to perform her different variations of Garrote attacks. Her basic first form, basic second form, special first form, and special final form, all of which are insanely cinematic, yet are differentiated by the hundreds of damage percentage multipliers, so ideally building up to your EX special would be ideal for the height of your rotation. But for your initial entry into battle, you want to build up burning embers. That is the left side of the bar here. Embers are the stacks that will lead to burning tethers that can be consumed for chain attacks. The names are going to get confusing, so just bear with me. Embers lead to tethers that lead to chain attacks. And as a little secret, you can actually cancel the special combo just mentioned above to do a special and 3 basic combo. This is an alt version cancel and actually does more damage and can build up more embers. Generally perform this combo unless you need just a quick fix of fire. Gaining 50 embers will allow you to consume them to perform the Garrote. This portion of the skill is specifically tied to your basic, so make sure to level it. You'll then turn into Hinokami Kagura himself and flip into a fiery blitz of damage that will allow you to gain a point of tether. And like we said earlier, repeating the process will net us 3 tether points, and an easy way to flow into the chain attack here is to simply hold down your basic or E skill button, depending on which you last attacked with, to enter into the Garrote, and it'll immediately flow into your chain. Once it does so, there's a period in which you may switch off of Evelyn that will still allow her to channel the chain attack animation. This is extremely important because it'll allow you to shave off seconds of your run time in order to maintain a good rhythm of offense. As you'd expect, the flashy chain costs over 2 seconds of time. Add that up over battle and you get a substantial amount of time sitting staring at her. Watching her deal damage. So quickly swapping to your lighter to run through his morale and then immediately going back to Evelyn in front allows for you to seamlessly transition from stun or support setups back to our rope slinging secret agent. Yet we can't forget about the ultimate, the Lunar Lux Garrote Timber. It's a juiced up version of the chain whereby Evelyn takes off her jacket, yet gains the Dance of Awakened Fire, allowing you to gain a permanent stack of burning tether, meaning your future chains through the Garrote will only require 2 stacks instead of 3. Pretty neat. And to be honest, that's the majority of Evelyn's kit. We'll go over her core as it grants her 25% crit rate after entering a binding seal and retains it for 10 seconds when exiting. Yet when she switches to another character, she'll follow up with Burning Sunder first form, and with her additional ability, when there's a stun or support unit on your team, she gains 30% chain and ult damage multipliers alongside 125% of value of those attacks when crit rate exceeds 80%, which perfectly aligns up with your investment of the character. So let's begin the build segment right after you hit the like button. Right now. Evelyn's build is unfortunately quite simple. There are only a few items you'll actually need to check down, yet to get her premium investment, it's going to take a lot, and I mean a lot of work. So let's get started with her W engine. Her signature being the Heartstring Nocturne. This bad puppy is rocking the highest base attack for the attack class at 713 with a substat of 24% crit rate at max level 60. The passive will grant us a whopping 50% crit damage, and when you activate a chain or ult, they will gain Heartstring stacks that can ignore up to 12.5% each stack, 2 stacks total for 30 seconds, meaning you'll at least want to perform 1 chain before you enter your stun rotation. This is amazing for several reasons, namely the crit damage is quite strong, as it will actually incentivize you to run different Drive Disc main stats. And with the defense ignored, you can also get a lot out of pen, especially if you aren't running it naturally with your other supporting cast. Some folks might be worried about this W engine, but most folks should be pleased because this Heartstring Nocturne is only better than its co-patriots by about 10 to 20%. However, When calculated with Evelyn's premium teams, that being with Lyra and Jshoea, the percentage can grow up to 30+% because of the insane elemental damage bonuses that Lyra brings. It just compensates for the lack of elemental bonuses the W engine or kit brings, making it that much more valuable. However, I only put this disclaimer first because the A-tier F2P options of the Mercado Desire is extremely viable. And if you've done Jshoea, you definitely have R5, meaning that you have one of her best DPS options out the gate. Now, let's say that Harmas is actually holding onto that weapon, you can either run the Steel Cushion and Cannon Rotor, all of which are around the same percentile in performance. Now, if you've noticed, all of these options have crit rate in the substat. Well, that's because you'll be wanting to stack up to 75% of crit rate, alongside Evelyn's amazing core passive that grants her the extra 25% you'll need to cover for 100%. However, if you're packing a 12-inch bang boo, instead run 55% crit rate, which is the other threshold. Why would you want to do this instead? Well, you would still get to 80%, which is enough for the additional passive chain and ult damage increase, and be able to flex into an all attack based build, which is kind of nasty in its own right. However, that comes with running a bunch of crit rate in your substats, which means the only person who balance these rules out are you. So swing by our Twitch streams as I do a bunch of account reviews for viewers. Then we'll move on to Evelyn's drive discs, which are a bit uninspired. The Generalist will run 4 Woodpecker Electro and 2 Branch and Blade Song. These will provide you with more crit damage because you'll be supplementing your attack and pen through main stats. Adding this extra crit damage through the 2 set is nice. Then why are we going for 4 Infernal Metal, Josh, when we receive 28% crit rate and then be able to redistribute the damage investment that way? Well, let's break it down. With 5% building into Evelyn, 24% through the W engine, 25% through her passive, and 14.4% through core investment A, C, and E, this comes out to just around 70% of innate crit rate, which is absolutely absurd. Yet, let's not forget about drive discs too. We definitely won't be needing to go further beyond for an additional 28%, and having to always maintain the burn through the stun window is quite difficult, meaning that consistency triumphs here. Another possible option is to run Hormone Punk at 4, but after testing, it's just a little bit easier to maintain the Woodpecker bonus than to have to manage the 10-second uptime, the 10-second downtime, all the alternative discs. But it's not an absurd option, so if you have cracked Hormone Punk substats, go for it. Substats you'll want here are generally crit damage or attack in the 4 slot. Pen, attack, or fire in this case are almost even, with 2 and at most 5% differentials depending on your team configurations. And of course, attack goes in the 6 slot naturally. Crit rate will be your priority in the substat, yet with 70+%, the 6% from the 2-set Woodpecker, you can see that we won't be needing that much, if at all, really any effort to maintain 100% rates, meaning the rest should go into crit damage, attack, and pen, with anomaly proficiency being the lesser offensive investment. And just to cover our bases, let's mention skill investments. Seems like it's all of them. Yep, just max out all of them, because as we'll see in a bit, the core is of the highest priority, with the special, chain, and basic all being utilized, lest you be rotating a lot by assisting and dodging as well. If anything, you can skimp out on dodge, for if you do have Jshoea, pivoting is always better for overall performance. Before we move on to the combat and team segments, might I point out that we are so freaking close to 20k subscribers on YouTube. I'll be hosting a bunch of community events and potential giveaways for Evelyn around our YouTube and Twitch lives, so make sure you guys swing on by the channel sometime, subscribe so we can all goon to Evelyn together. Back to brass tacks as we start to open up to Evelyn's best team options. And although she is quite the solo act as a spy, she really enjoys teammates who can stun and set up her amazing chain combinations. The premium team composition is Lyra and Jshoea, both fulfilling her additional core passive, switching out a stun or switching out a support, maybe bring in 2 supports. All viable options are on the table here for Evelyn's open-ended set of requirements. However, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the min-maxing, as there are build implications when it comes to Evelyn. If you are having an attack-based buffer, which most supports are, then running crit-based W engine options are your go-to. But let's say you're running a Soul Nicole, who grants crit rate and defense down on her side, why not try the R5 Starlight engine as the alternative, as it proves just slightly ever so better than your Cannon Rotors. But that's just a tangent for a certain sub-team. Most teams you'll want to run are based solely on attack, like Jshoea, Lucy, even a pair of Lycon and Sakaku can actually do the trick as well. Although not ice, Evelyn still benefits from a solid stun and attack buff. Then comes the question of Kaleda. Kaleda. When going through some testing, Kaleda's buffs, since only activating during stuns, are actually a bit more complicated than it seems. Since there is so much variance with enemies, let alone boss stun windows, it's tough to justify having a stunner that only buffs during a stun window. Yet in order to elongate or maximize said stun window, you'd need a lighter or an ice-based comp to utilize Freeze Anomaly, which just can't be the case here. Although there is something to be said about Evelyn Creator Lyra combo, however you're missing the amazing offensive bonuses even a base Lucy could bring, which makes prioritizing a support alongside Evelyn more viable than running double stuns. As for Creator replacing Lyra, go ahead, it's actually not a bad option. Not as bad as trading Luca for Anthony Davis, but you're still only getting a fraction of the output due to Lyra's amazing fire bonus and resist down debuffs. Down the road, Polkra has to be tested as well, only emphasizing Evelyn's great synergies with the Sons of Caledon faction outside of her wife, patron, Astriel. Let's move swiftly over to our combat showcase, and from what we theorized, 5 chain attacks during the stun window is amazingly solid if you are to set it up properly. First, before you enter the stun window, perform one of her chain attacks. This way, if you do have your W engine first, or second stack for the fire res down, then use Lyra to enter into stun. Chain 2 with Evelyn, cancel, back to Lyra to finish the chain combo with Evelyn, and now you're within the stun window. Perform the final form Garrote, which should generate you at least 2 stacks, then utilizing Astriel's ult, you can then perform a third chain. Regular assist, into Lyra as to not proc the second charge, flip back to Evelyn for your 4th chain, and by then you should have enough stacks for a 5th chain via your 3 tether stacks. Now hold on Josh, isn't that a little bit unrealistic? To be honest, yes. In theory, the majority of folks are only going to get 3 max 4 chains within a single stun window. And that's just because of the closing windows of the stuns alongside the management of chain. But that doesn't mean your job is done. See, during the chain window is where you can get the largest damage. But if you're staying diligent, you should still be building up your embers, tethers, morale, such that when you do hit the stun, you're ready to go. And don't think that Evelyn is confined to said stun window, because her damage is just really already that good. Then let's look into mindscapes and investments, because who doesn't like window shopping at the Ferrari dealership? Evelyn's whole kit has been out to be viewed during the demo, but let's quickly review their value. Evelyn's M1 provides a 1500 decibel to start your battle, and when in Binding Seal with an opponent will ignore 12% of their defense. The effect can also spread to other units in the area after the EX special final form. M2 gives Evelyn a 50% attack bonus, thus making the switch depend on 5 slot that much more valid. Then when consuming embers during the Garrote first and second form, the embers will return to you, allowing you to consume them again for another tether point, triggered once every 25 seconds. Personally, it's quite nice to actually start your rotation with this. It's most likely during the middle or end of your stun windows that you can also, by wish, able to refresh the first embers to cleanly get off a last chain attack. Yet this doesn't really push the needle too much in testing, but if I were to say every 10 seconds, I could see this being much more impactful overall, but again, that's a what if. M3 and M5 are skill increases, and M4 provides a shield that can grant 40% crit damage, which can again offset the crit damage of 4 slot and allow you to go attack. M6 grants Evelyn the Shadow String Edge effect during her chain, and like an Ayato, will follow up with any attack you perform with the Lunar Lux Garrote attack, released as a follow-up attack, dealing 375% of Evelyn's attack. This one is absolutely disgusting, and with the attack investment mentioned up above, she'll be hitting absurd numbers with this, as it honestly becomes one of the best M6 mindscapes we have on the market. And that will wrap it up with Evelyn's early access look at one of our best DPS characters to date. If I were to give her a grade, she'd be an A- at low investment, because she has great F2P options and budget options available, and an okay A+ for M6, as there are some solid improvements to damage. Yet, I was really hoping to see more of a stylistic gameplay change with the kit. Maybe adding in one more stack of tether per ult, or changing up the rotations to gain tethers. But nonetheless, Evelyn comes to us as one of the premier DPS options, and I'd be remiss to say that you should skip her, because if you're in the market for fire coverage, or just a versatile, flexible attack agent, you want to pick up Evelyn. But amongst the looming 1.6 and 1.7 characters, we're going to have to discuss Evelyn's value at a later date. So subscribe right now to stay tuned. Hey, Josh here. Thank you so much for watching our early access guide on Evelyn. If you'd like to see more in the coming days, we're actually going to be detailing what Evelyn could look like going from M0 all the way to M6R5. Make sure to like and subscribe, because apparently 90% of you guys aren't, so that we can provide you with more early access content in Zenless Zone Zero. Thank you so much for watching. Click on this next video because YouTube thinks you'll like it. See you in the next one.